everyone. Welcome to the Choose to Change Mentoring Program. How's everybody doing tonight? Tired? No? Well, we got something special for you guys tonight. Really special. So this is welcome to the Choose to Change Mentoring Program, where you will always be inspired, challenged, and equipped for change, success, and fulfillment in life. My name is Rudy, and I'm a proud member of the Choose to Change Mentoring Program. The Choose to Change Mentoring Program is a self-supporting program sponsored by the Choose to Change Foundation organization, a 501c3 Christian-based nonprofit organization, because we are on a mission to inspire, challenge, and equip men to become more effective fathers, husbands, and leaders in our community. Because that's what we need, right? Because most of the men are locked up and the other half are lost. So let's pray for them. So if you are ready to change your life, you're in the right place. Through this program, you will learn exactly where to start, strategy to keep on going, and a support system to help you reach your goals. Choose to Change Mentoring Program believes in the two key principles of life. First, we believe in the life-changing power of God through faith in Jesus Christ. Success or failure is your personal responsibility. So we believe that God has already done his part and that it is our responsibility to learn to do ours. So if you say, I am ready, ready. Thank you guys again for tonight. I know Orlando is doing some preaching in a service tonight. He'll be back next week, but tonight we do have something powerful, a good testimony from our brother Leon, and let's give him a hand as he comes and takes the pulpit, guys. Stay in touch. He's going to rock your world right
now. Hello, my name is Leon Garcia. I'm part of the Choose to Change Foundation now. Just a little story about my testimony when I first, when I was a child. Let's start there. Let's start when I was, young. As a young boy, I didn't have my father with me. So it was kind of hard, you know what I mean? But I really didn't pay much attention to it. I was just brought up that to be that tonka tough, you know what I mean? Like, hey, just keep going, don't worry about anything, press forward, and men, boys don't cry or none of that stuff, So that's the way I started growing up. My stepdad, when he came into the picture, I was taught the exact same thing, Hey, men are men, and you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to show any emotions, nothing, you know what I mean? Just straight up, just bad, you know what I mean? So then when I started growing up and I started seeing what he would do, I was like, man, I want to do the same thing, because I would start seeing a bunch of money, you know what I mean? I saw stacks and stacks of money, and I was like, man, I wonder what they're doing, So I'd be looking through the window, checking them out. And sure enough, they'd be pistol whooping somebody outside that owed some money, have them chained up to the tree, torturing them, doing things that, as a 16-year-old, you're not used to seeing that, but I got used to it, you know what I mean? And it just became a lifestyle to me. I just became that lifestyle to where, hey, they owed money, they would take me with them. He had a bunch of people from Mexico that he always had with him, and we would go collect money, That's what I did. That's what we did, collect money, or we crossed a bunch of dope through the river. And so that's what I did at 16 years old, he was just creating a monster, you know what I mean? Later on, I just kept doing these things, and I liked the money. I liked the fact that I could make a lot of money, you know what I mean? And I would hear the teachers at school say, if you do this, if you do the right thing, you can make, $30,000 a year, $40,000, $60,000 a year. And I was like, I'm making way more than that. You know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? I can go and sequestrar somebody, you know what I mean? Take them in, and because they owed money, they owed $150,000, and I'd go charge $80,000 to go get your money back, plus interest, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't going to do it for free. So then, that's what I would do, and it just became my lifestyle. So then, eventually, down the road, me and my dad bumped heads. Me and my stepdad, we bumped heads because he kept telling me, pues, si piensas que eres muy hombrecito, then get out the house. So by 16, 17 years old, I had already left the house, and I moved to Houston, and I was staying in Houston, and I got in connection with some guy over there, and I started dealing a bunch of drugs, cocaine, and stuff like that, By the time I knew it, my dad was looking for me, and he had sent some of his, one of his workers. He said, hey, go look for this guy, see where he's at. Because my mom, how moms are, crying, and, where's mijito? And I wonder if he's okay. Is he doing all right? Is he not doing all right? So then they ended up sending this guy to look for me. And he ended up finding me, like 6 or 7 months later after they had sent him out there to Houston. He ended up finding me, and he tells me, hey, come home. Your dad wants you home. And I said, man, bro, who you trying to tell to come home? You know what I mean? I had already toughened up. I was that Billy Bad. You know what I mean? And you couldn't tell me nothing. So then, and at that point in time, the enemy was really working in me, man. He had a stronghold on me. He knew what was up. You know what I mean? He knew that he can control everything with the drugs, the money, the lifestyle. I was 17 years old with a brand new 2000 LeSabre, you know what I mean? From the showroom, went straight and, bought it, put some rims on it, did that thing, speakers, system, all that stuff. Until I ended up, I don't know if you guys remember the Predators, the choo-choos when you drop them down, and when I came with one of those choo-choos from up there, from Houston, with a Ferrari kit. Over here, they just had the regular running boards. I had a Ferrari kit on this thing with 3-tone color on it, People down here were just barely doing the 2-tone and, trying to put a little Cadillac symbol. I had murals painted on the top of the hood and the back. I was living it. I was living it up. For being a 17-year-old, I was doing what I had to do, to make money. At that point, I remember my mom being diagnosed with cancer. And that's why they wanted me back home. So when I came back home and then finding out that my mother had cancer, it was even worse. It was even, how am I even going to keep going to school? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think about going to school by that point, I had to make money because my stepdad, was when he said, look, is that what you want to do? Then that's what you're going to do. I'm going to give you all the people, all the resources and everything for you to do what you want to do with that, at that lifestyle. So that's what I started doing. I started living that lifestyle of selling drugs and, just being that person. And it so happened that, my mom, they had given her 6 months to live. So in my mentality, a 17-year-old, I wasn't thinking, oh, you know what? That was the down point where I just, I didn't really care about anybody or anything. I was going to do what I had to do to survive. I wasn't going to have my mom there no more, you know what I mean? And by God's grace, she's still alive right now. You know what I mean? And that was when I was 17 years old. Right now I'm 43. And, she's still alive, so whatever the doctors say, was a lie, you know what I mean? God has the ultimate, the ultimate say-so, you know what I mean, when it comes to some things like that. But I remember also when that was going on, I just, it spiraled out of control, man. I was just really out of control. There was nowhere. There's people that say that they're bad and they weren't bad. I was the one that would show you that you weren't bad. If you saw me in a dark alley or something, bro, I'd make you change your life. You'd probably end up coming to the Door Christian Fellowship. You know what I mean? Or trying to go to some other church because, you weren't bad. I'd show you that you weren't. I'd make it a point to show you that, no, you're not. You know what I mean? And I remember when I first came, a lot of things started happening. I met my wife, and this is like further now in the future. And I met my wife after all of this stuff was happening, and I remember telling her, "Hey, let's get married." And she goes, "I'll never marry you. What's the matter with you? No, you're crazy. Look at the type of person you are. You know what I mean?" So we lived together. We did this and that, and I continued doing the same thing. You know what I mean? I continued to do the wrong. And she ended up getting pregnant. And then all of a sudden, I got a daughter now, and I had to slow down. I had to pump the brakes. I pumped the brakes, but I never really stopped. You know what I mean? I kept doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And all these times I end up going to prison. Boom. There's different points in my life where I ended up going in prison. I did 4 tours. I call it 4 tours, not to Vietnam or to the Army or nothing like that, but I did 4 tours. I did 97, 98, 99, got out. Went back in 2000, 2001, 2002, got out. Did 2003, 4, and 5, got out. Did 7, 8, and 9, got out, and then went back in 2010. 2010, 11, and 12. And by that time, that's when I started slowing down, because that's when they told me that I was going to have a daughter. You know, when in 2010, you know, I was like, man, I remember going into jail, into prison, and telling, and when they told me, yeah, you know, you're going to have a daughter, I said, what? What do you mean I'm going to have a daughter? And then they wanted to give me 25 to life this last time, you know, habitual offender, you know, a career criminal. You know, they wanted to give me 25 to life, and I was like, no, man. And the first thing is straight up, you know, sinners, that's what you think. God, why? What are you doing? How are you going to do this to me, God? You know, are you crazy? It's not God's fault. It was my fault. You know what I mean? But I just didn't realize that. So then I remember telling God, look, God, I'll get out the gang. I'll get out of everything. Just, I can't do no life in prison. You know, I got a daughter coming. How can you do this to me? You know, how can you do this to me? It wasn't him doing it. It was my own self, you know, doing this to myself. And I remember saying, you know, what can I do, you know, to change? And I try to change, you know what I mean? And I remember giving my life to God, you know what I mean, in that time. And it was around 2010. I remember giving my life to God again, you know, after, because the first time to prison did it, you know, and trying to play that, you know what I mean, just fake it till you make it type of thing, you know what I mean? But God knew that eventually he was going to get me, you know what I mean? So the second time, the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, just to not get in trouble, but at the same time, I still got in trouble. I still finished the whole piece that they had given me, you know what I mean? And I'd come out, last for about 6 months to a year, and go right back, you know what I mean? So it was like a cycle. It was just a vicious cycle that I was going through until I met my wife when that happened, when she got pregnant. And then that's what slowed me down. I was like, oh, man, I can't. How can I leave my daughter without a dad? You know what I mean? Like, that was my main thing, because I never had my dad. You know what I mean? I had my stepdad, but at the same time, all he did was just create a monster. You know what I mean? When he passed away, I remember him telling me, hey, mijo, I'm sorry, but now is the time for you to get out of it. You know what I mean? All them people from Mexico, all them jale, you can get out of it right now. They're gonna allow you to get out of this. If I don't make it and I die, he says, that's going to be your time when you can get out. And that's, sure enough, that was a time when I could get out of doing everything over there. But I still ended up messing up, going to prison, coming out, and my daughter was my main focus was my daughter. Like, man, I can't let her, you know, be without a dad. You know, I can't. What is she going to do? It's not, you know, how is she going to raise herself? How is she going to get anything that she needs? I was used to them giving me everything, you know what I mean? I had everything. Everything I wanted, everything I needed, trucks, cars, whatever. Growing up, I had it all. So then, how can I do this to her? So then my thing was, you know what, I need to slow down. So then when I get out of prison, was my wife, she had ended up going to prison too, because they had caught her with a bunch of dope. And so she ended up going to the federal prison, and about 6 months later, I ended up going to state prison. Because she wanted me to go visit her. I remember, I'll never forget. She wanted me to go visit her. And she says, I don't care how you do it, but you better come and visit me. So I remember this guy owed me some money, and I remember seeing him at Dollar General. And I said, oh, look, there's my chance. I can go collect some money that this guy owes me. So when I went to go collect money there, I go, boom, kicking in the door to collect money, because that's what I knew how to do, you know what I mean, to go collect. So I went to go collect, and little did I know that I was going to get a 3-year sentence, well, 25 to life. What ended up happening in all of this was that when I tell God, hey, God, I'm done with it, it's over with. So he ends up allowing me to go to a jail cell where I had gotten out the gang, and it was ex-gang members. So when I get there, they automatically say, you're not an ex-gang member. You were just doing some stuff the other day. You can't be in here. And I said, man, I'm out. I remember some guys trying to kill me in there, and because they said that I couldn't get out. You know what I mean? But I said, you know what? It is what it is. Do what you got to do. I'll see you in church. And here I go right back, falling right back into the same thing all over again. You know what I mean? But I remember going to the court, and I'm not even supposed to be in that courtroom. But I had taken the first step, and I had told God, God, if you get me out of this life sentence, I promise you I'll follow you the rest of the days of my life. So, God is faithful, you know what I mean? And watch what you tell God. So I remember him opening the doors for me, bro, and I remember getting to the court, and I wasn't supposed to be in that courtroom. And I remember that the judge saying, what is this man? Everybody she was giving 25 years, life sentences, 50 years, 60, like they were pancakes, bro, boom, boom, throwing them. I'm like, man, this lady's going to throw the book at me. So I remember getting there. She's all like, what are you doing in my courtroom? I said, ma'am, I don't even know what I'm doing. Get up, stand up when you talk to me. You know how the judges are. Stand up when you're talking to me. So I stand up. Your Honor, I'm sorry. Hands behind my back. You know what I mean? Well, actually on the sides because I was all chained up and shackled and chained, And so then she ends up telling me, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is not the courtroom I'm supposed to be in. She said, bring me his file. So they bring my file from the third floor down to the second floor. So they bring the file down, and then she goes, Mr. Garcia, she says, you're here for, what was that called? They called it a burglary habitation with the intent to commit 2 felony crimes because there was people inside the house, and it was already getting dark. So then they got me for that, for burglary habitation with the intent to commit 2 felony crimes because I kicked in the door on this guy that owed me some money. And so they were going to throw the book at me, man. That right there, automatic, that's 20 years. You know what I mean? Just because it's already getting dark and it's nighttime. And then being a career criminal, so they said, the judge where I was supposed to go wanted to give me 25 to life. He ended up putting a little post-it sticker on my folder and telling the judge, whatever you do, don't give this man no less than 25 years. And I was like, she tells me, Mr. Garcia, you have one chance and one chance alone to tell me the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God. So I told her everything, the way it happened, the way I had to go see my wife and do this and do that, and I kicked in the door and how this guy owed me money and all kinds of stuff. Well, she ends up saying, Mr. Garcia, she goes, today's your lucky day. So that's why I always say that I think that's the same judge that Brother Orlando went to, because she ends up telling me, I'm going to give you 3 years. And I was like, what? Like, are you serious? 3 years? She goes, I'm supposed to be giving you no less than 25 to life. But since you told me the truth, and everything that you said is written down in this police report, did you read this police report anytime soon? I said, no, man, but that's just what happened. So she ended up giving me the 3 years, brother. And I was all like, man, bro, that's like a big blessing. I said, ma'am, one more thing. I got one more case pending in another courtroom. Can you bring it? So she brings the other case, right? And the other case was for DWI, and I had a gun. So I remember her saying, what happened here? And I tell her the whole story, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. And she goes, you know what, Mr. Garcia, I'm going to give you 3 years, run concurrent with him. I said, one more thing, ma'am. Can you give me all of my back time? She goes, yes, give him all of his back time, everything is signed. I had already done 6 months. So 6 months on a 3-piece. I'm getting out in about a year and a half. You know what I mean? About a year. So I already had 6 months, 7 months built up. So by the time I went to TDC, it was just a in and out type of thing. You know what I mean? So I go in, and that's when they told me, hey, you can't run here, bro. We're going to kill you. I said, pues, man, I guess I'll see you in church. So I shanked up, you know what I mean? I went and grabbed the shank, I remember, went back to the church. When I was about to go back to the church, this one ex-brother from the same gang was behind me. He's all like, hey, ¿qué onda, Leon? And I'm like, man, didn't I just tell you, So I was already ready to throw down and handle my business. And I remember he says, no, wait, what do you mean? ¿Qué onda? What's going on? I said, look, I told these guys earlier, bro, this and this and this. And he's all like, I wasn't here. I'm not even supposed to be here. He says, I just drove in. I drive an 18-wheeler. So in the 18-wheelers, they go from one unit to another unit, and then they stop at that unit, and they rest, and they rest there, and then they can, do whatever they're going to do. Normally, those guys just go to the library because they're already driving the truck. They're trustees. They're moving around, so they don't want to get in no trouble. So all they do is they go get a book, and they go to their dorm, and they read for the weekend, which is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So then I tell him, I'll see you in church, man. He's like, all right. And I said, go talk to them guys. So he ended up knowing me from the world, And so I remember when he went back, and then he came on Sunday. Sunday comes, and I end up going to church. And I ended up taking the shank to church. And he comes and sits down next to me, and I said, here, man, choose a weapon because, it's whatever. I'm not going to sleep with one eye open, one eye closed, and did you want to kill me and that I can't walk here, or do you want to drop me? And they're like, no, this is a shank-free environment. I said, shank-free environment? We're in prison. Handle your business. What do you mean shank-free environment, please, man, So I was like, man, whatever. So then It ends up being that God sent that guy to be there at that time. He knew what was going to happen, because he ends up telling them other guys, hey, leave that guy alone. That guy's going to kill you. That guy's going to stab you. And he's down. Like, you don't know. This guy was here 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. He paved the road for us. And you want to tell this guy that he can't walk? I said, man, you're crazy. You know, don't do that, but call out. So they had cell phones, you know how it is. They have cell phones. They called out. And sure enough, they tell him, hey, leave him alone. If that's the route that he's choosing, is to follow God, leave that man alone. You know, you don't want no problems with him. So they did. They left me alone. And I was like, man, God, thank you, you know, because I thought, you know, some other crazy stuff would have popped off. I would have been there longer. I'm trying to get home to my daughter. And all this time, I'm still trying to get home to my daughter. So I end up going to that unit there. They end up sending me to Central Unit, which is in Huntsville. And I go to Central Unit. From Central Unit, I'm not even supposed to be in Central Unit. I'm a maximum security prison type of guy. You know, I was always in Clemens Unit over there in Amarillo, the psych ward and stuff like that. And so now they have me in Central Unit. And then from Central Unit, they send me to Bird Unit. And I'm like, Bird Unit, man, this is nice. This is gravy, you know. Good food. Exactly, good food. I was all like, man, bro. And then they put me to work in the kitchen. So the workout went out the window. You know, I gained maybe about 60, 80 pounds, something like that. You know, so, you know, and then finally, anyway, by the time I know it, I'm out. You know what I mean? I get out. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Now I get put on the monitor. So now I'm on the monitor and I'm doing what I got to do. And I still can't find a job. I can't do what I got to, you know, I'm trying my hardest to do what I got to do. And my uncle wouldn't give me no more chances. My uncle, he runs a business, and he wouldn't give me no chances, bro. Like, man, you've done burned all your bridges, bro. You know what I mean? I said, man. So, you know, I was like, man, whatever. So I tried, you know, looking for work. I couldn't find nothing. I ended up telling God, what was all of this for? What was it all for? Why? You should have just left me in there. You should have just forgot about me. But, you know, he has his reasons why. So then check this out. The monitor doesn't work. The next day, my monitor doesn't work. They call me to my cell phone instead of the house phone. And instead of them calling the house phone, they call my cell phone. And I give them my number. I give them everything, right? So, okay, you're good. But that's the monitoring station. The very next day, my PO calls me, hey, can you come in? You know, you got the thing so you can come and give a urine sample. Okay. So I go in there and I sit down. I'm talking to him. He's like, oh, no, it's okay. Until the police officer stands right next to me. And I'm like, man, bro. And he goes, you're under arrest. And I just look at him and I said, man, whatever. And I grab the scissors and I cut the monitor, right? I cut it off and I throw it on his desk. And I remember telling the officer, here, man, in the back. And he's like, just put him in the front. You're not going to run, right? I said, where am I going to run to, bro? I got maybe about a year left on parole. I said, I go do a year and I come back out. So I remember going back, and I'm already upset because I can't find a job. You got to understand, I had already said God. I had already, you know, told God stuff. And so I ended up going back to the county jail, right back to the same cell where it all started. So then when I get back to that cell and I'm walking in there, this guy tells them they have the TV off and they have 24 guys. There's nobody in there preaching to them. There's no church guy. There's nobody in there. But they're praying and they're reading the Bible. And the guy turns around and looks and he says, and that's the man I'm talking to you about. That's the guy that talked to me about Jesus Christ. I was all like, man, bro, now I understand, God. Now I know what it was all for. It was all for his glory. You know what I mean? Everything that I've gone through and everything was because of him and what he could do, not for me, you know what I mean, or what I could do or what Leon was doing or who I was, you know what I mean? It was none of that. So, and I was very surprised, and I'm like, man, so I remember going in there, and they're like, so what did you do? And I said, I didn't do nothing. I said, all I did was tell God why. What was it all for? So he ended up showing me what it was all for. There was 24 men serving God, praying, you know, reading the Bible, doing their own Bible study in there. And that was what it was all for, you know what I mean? To save souls through me just talking about Jesus Christ and them seeing that, man, if this guy can do it, anybody can do it, right? So I ended up just doing a back turnaround, you know, going to ISF, coming back out from ISF. I remember coming out from ISF, and that's when I realized how real God was, and I got scared. And I said, you know what? I grabbed my Bible, I grabbed all my books, and I put it away up in a shelf. And I kept doing the same thing, you know, but I was just doing it a little bit smarter, I guess a little bit less, And instead of drinking outside of the house, I would drink inside the house. Instead of doing passe at the clubs and all that, I was doing passe at the house. You know what I mean? I still had it. I still did it. I smoked a lot of weed, still did the same thing, but just in the house, so where I couldn't get in any trouble. Plus, I had my wife that was there and wouldn't let me do anything, you know what I mean? Like, no, you're not going nowhere. You stay here at home, this and that. So that's what I would do. Okay, so then things still started getting out of control. I started to lose my wife. I started to lose my children. I started to lose everything all over again. You know what I mean? Yeah, we had money. We lived good, but I just wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So then I remember God talking to me one day. And my son, he wanted to commit suicide. And that's where it hit me. My wife said, hey, you're out of here because of you and because everything that he sees from you, and it's your fault. And I said, my fault? How is it my fault that he wants to kill himself? But I wasn't being there for my children. I wasn't being there for my wife. I wasn't being there for my family. You know what I mean? So then when all of this started happening, I remember telling her, man, whatever, he needs counseling, take him to counseling, this and that. So they ended up taking him to tropical, whatever. But they wanted to give him pills. And she didn't want him to take pills no more because he was like a zombie. So then they ended up finding about ISGOT, and so then that's where I started coming. This is where the church comes in because God was already dealing with me, and he knew what he was doing to get me to this place where I am now. But he allowed everything to happen in my life. So then when I'm over there, and I remember her telling me, you need to stop or you're out of here. And I said, out of here? What do you mean? I got too much time and too much money invested with you. No, not going nowhere. So I was like, you know what? Okay. So I remember going out there to the monte, to the wilderness, and telling God, okay, God, okay, I know you're real. I know you're there. I said, but I got desires to do drugs. I had desire to do cocaine. I desire to smoke marijuana. I desire to drink tequila, drink beer. I desire to do all these things, smoke cigarettes. That's a desire that I had in my heart. So I was like, but if you can take those desires away from me and fill them with new desires, I'll follow you all the days of my life. Here I go again, right? Plea bargaining, you know what I mean? And he's like, all right, you remember what you told me. You remember what you told me 10 years ago? You told me the exact same thing. He goes, I'm going to help you out. But remember, I'm about to release you into your own desires. And then I'm never going to help you again. This is God talking to me. I could hear him. Or probably the drugs, right? But I know it was God. But I remember telling him that. And I remember coming back and getting back to the house. And I was throwing all the liquor away in the sink. I'm throwing everything away, right? And my wife's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm throwing everything away. You told me to quit, right? I'm going to quit. And she says, and the rest, and I throw about an ounce of cocaine. I throw about a pound of weed and some dro, like about maybe 8 or 9 ounces of dro. Throw it away. Throw everything away. She's like, yeah, right. How long is this going to last? A week? Says, how long is it going to last? I said, no, that's it. You wanted me to start going to church and start doing the thing. I said, let's go, but I know you're not ready for church. She said, what do you mean? I said, God is a jealous God. He wants all of your time, no matter what, all of your time. So, and I remember telling her, let's go make this last money I'm going to make. Let's go. I go over here because they owed me money. I come and pick it up. And then when I'm driving by, I said, what church is the one that you want to take me to? She goes, right there. And we're passing right by here. And I said, no, I can't go in there. Are you crazy? I said, no, God's going to throw me a lightning bolt. The ground's going to open up. He's going to swallow me. I said, no, I can't go in there. It's God's house. I could feel God just standing there being like, waiting, you said this. Like looking at me, drive down the road, you know what I mean? So then Tuesday, I cleaned up. So for a couple of days, because I was on a Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. By Tuesday, that's when we came to the ISGOT. Get here to the ISGOT, and I still come with a mentality like, what can these people tell me that I don't already know? I've been there, done that, done this, did this. What can they tell me? So I come in here with that attitude to begin with. So I come in here like that, and then I'm like, man, I see Brother Edwin here. He has a gun. I'm like, oh, there we go, man. This guy has a gun over there. And I'm looking at everybody, and I've noticed a lot of brothers, and I'm like, that guy's probably a police officer. Brother Elias, I said, he's probably a police officer. And I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, man, what can they tell me? But then God just grabbed a hold of me, and he broke me down right away here in this room. And And I was like, man. So then they told me the next day, come to church. So I came to church the next day. And then that's where I met Brother Orlando at the church. And he says, come to the Choose to Change. I'm like, what can they tell me there? You know what I mean? The same thing, you know. What can this guy tell me? Brother Orlando, what can he tell me? You know, I'm looking at him because they're dressed in suits. You know what I mean? I can't see their tattoos. I can't see nothing. You know what I mean? They're clean now, you know. And I'm like, what can he tell me, this guy? What does he know? Little did I know that brother had done a lot of time in prison too. You know what I mean? So when I got here to the class and I started hearing it, I'm like, man, this makes sense. No wonder I couldn't ever get it right. You know what I mean? But because my attitude was all jacked up, I was in La La Land. He talks about La La Land a lot, you know, and that's where my mentality was. We were doing just things out of our self-conscious, you know what I mean? So then I just kept coming back to these classes, kept coming to the Is God, kept coming to church. And I remember them telling me, just keep coming back, just keep coming back, you know, just keep coming. So now it's already been a year and a half that I just keep coming back, you know. I had a lot of help along the way. I got brothers, you know, Brother Scoey here, Brother Orlando, Brother Peña back there. You know, there's brothers that I would call and they would call me. And I know Brother Scoey, we hit it an awful lot, you know what I mean? And always fellowshipping with him and just watching him and learning and you know, doing all these things. But, you know, we have to have that desire, like Brother Orlando says, he has it written up here, you know, the desire. I never lost faith, you know, but I had that desire to change. I didn't want that lifestyle anymore for my children either, you know. And God ended up restoring everything back, you know. He restored my relationship back with my wife and with my children. You know, we got married here at the church, and a lot of it, you know, is just, it was very short-lived with my wife. My wife passed away in December, and, you know, it hit me pretty hard. You know, it still has, you know, it still affects me. But I can't stop that from being the father that I'm called to be. You know what I mean? I still gotta press forward for my children, you know. But that you know, there's people out here that you still got your wives, you know, you still got your children, you know, and we need to be able to man up, you know what I mean? To be there for our children, to be there for our wives, you know, if you got wives, you know, be there for them, you know, love on them, because they're the ones that are really, you know. I remember going with Brother Orlando to the prison. I remember, you know, seeing sister out there, his wife, and telling these men that, you know, it's the women that they really take the brunt of it all. You know what I mean? Like, they're always there, you know, like they how can, I'm living right now being the single father, and it's hard. You know what I mean? I got to be the dad and the mom. And the dad is kind of easy because, you know, you make money, you know, but how does a woman do it where she has to be all the time with the children? How does she get to be able to pay all of this stuff off? How does she do it? You know what I mean? So I give a lot of props to the single women out there that are doing it, you know, and God's help, you know, that God would always help them, you know what I mean? But that's why as men we got to stand up and become the fathers that we have been called to be, to become the man that we've been called to be. God has called us out to be men, you know, to be the head and not the tail. So we just got to be able to continue to do that, press forward. You know what I mean? And ask God for help. Don't be scared to ask God for help, but remember what you ask God. Because, like, don't ask for patience, because, you know, he kind of teaches you. He doesn't give you patience. He teaches you patience. But there's a lot of things, you know what I mean? And we just got to continue to press forward, you know, but that's my testimony, guys, and God has moved so much in my life. You know, I give Orlando a lot of props, you know, for equipping me with these things, you know what I mean? Because now I know that I have to change my mindset. You know, and how do we change our mindset? You know, we change our mindset by reading the Word of God. You know what I mean? We got to put all foolish things away, you know, and start reading. The more we read and we put all the other stuff that we had in the junk, we throw it away, and we input new stuff into our lives, into our minds, then that's what's going to help us. You know what I mean? To better equip us to be able to fight against the enemy, because the enemy's attacking, brother. He doesn't want any of us men to be with our children. He wants to have children just out there without dads. They need a father figure. They need that man to stand there and tell them, hey, this is what's going to be done. This is how you're going to do it. Follow my example. Because then if not, you know, what do they have out there? They have the gang. You know what I mean? They have that gang life that's going to take them straight to the penitentiary, brother. You know what I mean? And penitentiary ain't no joke. I mean, I don't know how many of you have children that have been to prison, but I bet you don't desire that for your children. You know what I mean? Because I know I don't. You know, that was a rough life. You know, that was something bad. So we got to be able to man up and to do the right thing, and to be able to focus on our families and focus on our children, instead of focusing on things that aren't going to help us out. You know what I mean? And I leave you guys with that. Here you go, bro.
Any questions, anybody? No? All right, let's give Leon a hand. I just want to close off the Choose to Change class. Right now we're going to donate in just a minute. But I just want to close off with a saying I heard, and it was from Pastor Wacker, actually. And it said, it's a sure sign you're going to end up in a great place when you give great detail to the little things. And I want to talk about just a little thing that I heard in Leon as he gave his testimony, powerful testimony. And it reminded me of a story in the Bible in Matthew 15. And I'm just going to read it to you about little things that can change your life. And it's a story of Jesus. The scripture says in Matthew 15:21, then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. But he answered her not a word. And his disciple came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she cries out after us. And he said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And that's exactly what I heard when Brother Leon was saying that he was about to get 25-year sentence. He was supposed to get a life sentence. And that the mercy of God, if you were to ask anybody else, just like the disciples, he didn't deserve it. The judge said, make sure he doesn't get anything less than 25 years. But good thing that this lady, this woman in the Bible, went to the right person. Because she said, she came and worshiped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs. And she said, yes, Lord, but even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall off from the master's table. Then Jesus answered to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. See, a lot of us would easily say, man, after everything that this brother did, after everything that a lot of us have done, none of us desire the mercy of God. But yet it's when you ask. This woman said, yet even the little dogs eat from the crumbs. She wasn't asking for much. She was just asking for just a little bit of mercy. And when you ask Jesus, when you ask the right person, he'll give it to you, even when you don't deserve it. And tonight, that's what Choose to Change is all about. Choose to Change is about second chances. But if you're looking for it, if you're not looking for it, you won't get it. But tonight, if you're here tonight and if you're looking for a second chance, like Orlando says, I believe you found it. And Choose to Change is here to help you. And you can have a story like our brother Leon and many others who have changed their life. And that can be your story too. A story of mercy when you just asked for just a little thing. And you'll miss it if you aren't paying attention tonight. Tonight you just entertain about a story that, maybe you compared yourself to the story. Well, I've done more, I've done less, so it doesn't apply to me, just like our brother Leon. What can this guy teach me? But if you're looking for mercy, you'll find it. And tonight, that's what Choose to Change is all about. We're about helping. We're about helping you change your life. And tonight, if you want to be a part of that, you have an opportunity to be a part of it. If you're just coming to the Choose to Change class, you can be a part of it. Learn about the lives that we help, the people that we help, and you can be a part of that as well. But the fastest and the easiest way to help us further our mission to fight fatherlessness, family violence, drug addiction, the fastest and easiest way to do that is through donations. This stuff takes money. It's not free. Maybe it's free for the visitors that come, and we want to keep it that way. But There is a burden, and if you want to be a part of that, if you believe in second chances, then you can be a part of that by donating. If not, you can follow us on our social media. Continue to be a part of this, and as the donation bucket passes around, we just want to encourage you. Just want to thank each and every one of you that made it out tonight. And why don't we give Brother Leon one hand of applause as we conclude this Choose to Change class. But again, we want to invite you. We have books in the back. If you want to read about Orlando's story, it's a story about how he changed his life, how he was able to do it. For the longest time, he wasn't able to change his life. And that may be like a lot of you. But you know what? That's what we're here for. We're here for a community. What sets us apart from any other rehab, what sets us apart from any other AA meeting is that you have a community. You have brothers, you have sisters that can relate to you. We're here to help you. We're here to invest in you. And our time is available for you. And we can show you how we changed our lives. And you can, we believe that you can change your life too. And nothing's impossible. And like the scripture said, if you just ask for a little bit of mercy, we're here to help. Amen. That's all I have. Does anybody have any questions before we conclude? All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.